Hey guys, and welcome to the newest episode of B Hero Presents the Bump Card Wrestling Podcast. I am your host, as always, Brian, and with me tonight is my tag partner, Psycho. How you doing tonight, Psycho?
I'm in a mood, so we'll see. Well, I'm doing good though.
Oh, I'm glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. We are now doing a quick review. Sorry, it's been a bit of a busy week for us. But a quick review of AEW All In from London, Wembley specifically, the biggest wrestling show of all time. If you don't count the numbers supposedly sold by WrestleManias and such, this is the highest sold wrestling show ever. So,
Yeah, paid.
83,000 something.
It was 81,000.
81,000.
Of paid. That's just counting paid attendance.
Yeah.
So.
And that does beat last year's WrestleMania, which was 80,000 something. So it was. I mean, it still beat it, but it was pretty close to it. But it's still impressive for the quote unquote number 2 promotion.
Right? Yeah, it's yeah. I think with the paid thing, because you know how when WrestleMania gets announced, their attendance. That's the attendance. That's not all paid.
Yeah,
that's all the comps. That's everything. Like Tony Khan in the scrum or the media scrum after was talking about how if you count like all the comps and all the people in the building, staff and everything, it was like 90,000. I don't think you'd really count the staff because I don't think they ever count those.
I wouldn't be surprised that they was counted. Like he's like, yeah, 92,000 something. At least 100 and something of those are people that work here.
Yeah, and they totally might, but Tony Khan was pretty confident. It's like, I've got the numbers to prove it, and I'll put that up against anything, that this was the highest paid attendance in wrestling history.
Yeah. Now, before we go ahead and talk about All In, which was a fantastic show, by the way, if you guys haven't had an opportunity to go watch it, go back and watch it. It's still available to watch on Bleacher Report. So go ahead and do that. In fact, pause, come back, watch it. Or pause, go watch it, come back. But before we go ahead and talk about that, we did have a couple of sad passings last week. Of course, we had the one and only Terry Funk. We had Bray Wyatt, Wyndham Rotunda passed, and as well as WWE Hall of Famer Bob Barker.
Oh my gosh, I totally forgot that he was a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
I knew he had appeared. I was like, oh my gosh, you're right. He was a Hall of Famer.
Bob Barker also passed. All 3 passed last week, which is very sad. And everybody, AEW, WWE, they all did some great things for people. On that note, before you go into your story, one thing I'm very appreciative of Tony Khan for is apparently he had told every member of the wrestling staff, every staff member, that Wednesday, today, or is it next Wednesday? Yeah, today, as we record today, is Bray Wyatt's Wyndham Rotunda's funeral, and he told Tony Khan told everybody that if you wanted to attend it, feel free to miss the show. You will not be in trouble. You will not be fined or anything like that. Please go to the funeral if you would like to, and we'll work it out. So nobody was needing to go to Dynamite tonight.
Yeah, which is, that's a good gesture.
Yeah.
But which is saying a lot, especially with them having another pay-per-view event this upcoming Sunday.
I know, like the only day they can help to build towards this coming one, they're like, you know what? Go ahead if you feel like you need to, and like it is quite an interesting thing. But with that being said,
it's going to be an interesting week too.
Yes, it is. With that being said, we here at Be Hero want to pay our respects as well to the families of Terry Funk, Wyndham Rotunda, and of course Bob Barker. So, they'll all be missed. They were all fantastic in what they did in and out of the world of wrestling. Interestingly, by the way, out of the 3 of them, only one of them has actually won an award for the best fight in a movie. And you know who that is?
Bob Barker, isn't it?
Bob Barker.
Is it Adam Sandler?
and
Happy
Happy
Gilmore?
Gilmore. Yeah, he won. They won the MTV Movie Award for Best Fight of that year. So that being said, Psycho said he had some great Terry Funk stories he wanted to share.
Yeah, so I don't know if you ever met him, Brett. Did you meet him at Cauliflower Alley Club?
I didn't meet him. He wasn't there the year I went. I believe he was the year before I went, which is the year you guys went down.
Okay, so we did get a chance. I say we, but me and whoever else came with me, we got a chance to meet Terry Funk. The first story I want to tell though was actually as a fan before I met Terry Funk. I was a kid and it was his WCW days when he was teaming with Bunkhouse Buck. And he was managed by Colonel Robert Parker. And they did a tag match in Salt Lake City. WCW came here. I forget if it was just a house show or if it was television. I think it was just a house show at the time.
Okay.
And I was sitting like I think first row, second row, something like that. And Terry Funk was out there. And me being a kid, I just kind of slapped his back or something like that. You know how fans do.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Terry Funk turned around so quick with his fist outdrawn, like he was going to punch you. Scared the bejesus of me as a kid. And I remember just falling back. It's like, okay, I'm not going to touch him anymore. It was just I don't know if he was legitimately like don't touch me, or if he was just that good at portraying that character of that crazy Texan. Probably a little bit of both, but I just remember that was it's still vivid in my memory. I remember that so clearly. Great Terry Funk story there. But when I met him at Cauliflower Alley Club, he
actually turned around and punched you.
No. He wasn't Bubba Ray Dudley.
Nick Fettuccini.
He probably would punch me. But if you guys don't know that story, go back and listen to our Brad Landon episodes. I think it was discussed in there.
It was.
But so no, when I met Terry Funk, he was the nicest guy. It was, he was somebody asked him about his matches with Ric Flair, and he was just like, Ric Flair's a hell of a guy, and just one of the nicest people in the business. He really was. I've got so many great Terry Funk memories as a fan and stuff, but he'll be missed. Bray Wyatt, he was someone I never got a chance to really meet. I'm pretty sure I've seen him wrestle live when they've come through, but just somebody that really didn't hit his full potential, in my mind, even though he won the WWE Championship, a couple of times or whatever it was. But I just feel like there was so much more that he could have done. I'm really glad that he got a chance to come back, and seeing his return last year. I think it was last year, maybe it was earlier this year. I think it was last year.
It was last year, and I believe it was here in Salt Lake.
No, he was supposed to come back here, but he didn't return until the pay-per-view.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, or it was rumored that he was going to come in Salt Lake, but he did not. I was there.
But it was like right there. It was like right around that same time. So it was this time actually last year.
Yeah. And I just remember that was such a great moment for him, and I'm glad he got to come back. Some of the stuff he did after, that's neither here nor there, on enjoyment levels. But yeah, I thought that we'd get a chance to see him again. I had heard rumors that he was getting ready for a return.
Yeah.
But it never happened, sadly. It's been, I don't have any really good Bob Barker memories, except for, I'm not going to lie. I loved him in Happy Gilmore. And I did stay home sick as a kid quite a few times and watch The Price is Right. So, that was just what you did. When you stayed home, you watched game shows, Price is Right, Family Feud.
Right.
those types of shows. And so he did get me through some days in my childhood there staying home.
Yeah, Terry Funk, of course, you watch him as a kid, and stuff, and then like uh, winning the tag titles at WrestleMania with Mick Foley against Road Dogg, and it was Road Dogg and Billy Gunn, right? I believe that's what it
Yep.
was. Yeah,
Yep.
which was a great match. Um, and then of course Bray Wyatt, and Bray Wyatt had something special about him. I mean, he didn't always land with everything he did, but he's such a creative person that you saw in there and around the ring. And a dear friend of mine, huge Bray Wyatt fan. When I found out about it, he was the first person I texted about it and told him that he had passed and everything else. And it was quite sad to hear about Bray Wyatt, and especially later on hearing about how he passed. It's just it's sad to lose anybody, but it's especially sad to lose somebody so young. He's only 36, younger than both of us.
Yeah.
So, and still had so much left to give in the business, left to give in the world. But it's your time, sadly. And again, like Bob Barker, like you said, who was an interesting cat. I watched a video about Bob Barker's life today, and it was quite interesting. He had led a very interesting life. So, but with that being said, again, we want to pay our respects and give our hopes and prayers to the family of all of them. But we are here to talk about AEW and
Yes.
AEW's All In Wembley. So, what a show!
Yeah, and there's a lot coming out of this show.
Yeah, which we will touch after we go through the review of the show.
Okay, so we're going to talk about the first match before we. Okay,
not the first match. This is one of the few times you have to talk about the pre-show match.
Yeah. Yes. Okay, so there were two matches, so we might as well cover them both.
Yep.
So we did see them. So the first match on the pre-show, and before I touch on that real quick, the crowd was amazing. Like looking at that crowd, that was one of the first things I was really looking forward to seeing the spectacle of that huge crowd there. And I loved the setup of everything. It looked like a big deal. It looked huge. It looked very WrestleMania like.
Yeah.
And so the first match was actually for the Ring of Honor tag team titles. And you had the Ring of Honor tag team champions at the time. Foreshadowing. You had, or spoiler, depending on your viewpoint.
Right.
You had what were their names again?
It's Aussie Open. Who was the current ROH tag team title holders, and against the challenger for the AEW Heavyweight Championship, Adam Cole, Bebe, and his tag partner and best friend, Maxwell Jacob Freeman, the current AEW champion, MJF.
And the thing about this is that when MJF and Michael Cole, oh my gosh, that was Adam Cole,
Bebe.
Yeah. Yes. When they came out, that crowd was so behind them. It was a huge reaction. It was and you could tell MJF is just loving this run, and getting those pops from the crowd, which is very different.
Mm-hmm.
Normally he gets the heel heat, he gets the boos, and now he's coming out, and dare I say, he's the most over babyface on the entire roster. He's getting that kind of a reaction. Go ahead. You want to say something? I could tell.
It's true, and we talked about this that night. I just loved how he could simply just switch that ability, right? The MJF is able to ostensibly 2 months ago be the biggest heel, arguably in wrestling, and become such a huge babyface, so beloved that he was getting the stupidest crap over because the fans loved him so much.
So when this match started, I remember, Brian, that you said that you heard people saying that this could be the greatest tag team match in history, which is very funny considering that we just had a tag team match a few weeks ago between FTR and Bullet Club Gold, 2 out of 3 falls, where that was called one of the best tag team matches in history. I thought that was a very, very good tag team match. The tag match, the 2 out of 3 falls match. And so I was like, it's one of, but I've seen too many matches to say that was one of the best of all time. This, however, even looking on paper, I was like, no way. No way could this possibly be one of the greatest tag team matches of all time. And if it was going to be, it's certainly not going to be on the pre-show. One of the greatest tag team matches of all time.
But
it still wasn't. It was after watching this. Okay, this was an okay tag team match.
It was a very good tag team match.
Way to build that suspense. It's like, was it? All the people that didn't watch it, they're waiting to hear that. Right. And they're like, oh, it was? I gotta go watch. It was good. It was. I mean, you can even say, I don't even know if I'd say very good. It was a solid tag team match.
It told a really good story. It had the crowd 100% behind it. Mind you, part of that might be because this crowd would literally go for everything. I mean, the finish of this match was a double clothesline.
But they've gotten that over. They've gotten that so over that, of course, they were going to pop for that. But this was the first match in front of that 80,000 plus crowd. And England, London, England is starved for pro wrestling. And they got this first major pay-per-view from AEW, which, hasn't ever been there before.
Yeah.
You could have put... Okay, I'm going to get heat from somebody. I know somebody's listening. You could have put Jagger Lane versus Chad Bryant, and the crowd would have popped like crazy.
I don't know if I go that far. I mean, I agree with you that crowd was so hot that almost anything can get over. I don't know if those two could.
Sorry, Jagger, if you're listening in Chad. Yeah. So.
But I still really enjoyed the match. I thought it was really good. It told a good story. The only thing, and I agree with you, it was not the best match of all time. Or one of the greatest matches of all time. It was a very good match for what it was. And I said it that this is what I've heard people say online going into this match that could have been the greatest match of all time. I didn't say it was. I didn't say it was even going to be. I don't know why you keep blaming me. I'm just telling you what I had heard.
I wonder, the people that said this, are they like just huge Aussie Open fans? Are they big Ring of Honor fans? Like I don't see how they thought this was going to be the greatest of all time. Or are they just new fans and they've never watched pro wrestling before? This is their first event. Are they 5 years old? They're like, oh, this is going to be the greatest of all time.
You do realize, though, that somewhere out there, this is someone's favorite match of all time, right? By the odds, someone's favorite match of all time is this, or this could have been their very first match they'd ever seen, and this was their favorite match. So giving them crap, trying to talk down to somebody and shame them for enjoying this match and saying that they think it's the best match of all time is horrible, sir, and I do not approve.
I actually believe you. I agree with you that there's somebody out there that thinks this is the greatest of all time. The only reason I say that that's probable is because somebody thought an Alicia Fox tag match was the greatest match of all time. So I know that somebody
said, her sister did, yes,
and that's who thinks this is the greatest match of all time. Relatives of the Aussie Open, okay, that's who thinks this is the greatest match of all time.
Again, why are you shaming somebody for enjoying this match?
It's what I do. I don't know. It's
Psycho just went full heel.
like that's a first.
That being said, I still think this is a very good match. It was a great way to get the crowd super hot right off the bat.
It was.
Adam Cole, MJF, they couldn't do anything wrong in this match. Aussie Open, they were great in this match too. And your new ROH tag title holders are Adam Cole,
MJF and
baby.
Michael Cole. I'm just kidding.
Adam Cole, baby, and MJF. The people who will be fighting in the main event of this pay-per-view.
Dude, I just thought of something.
Oh, I bet that
hurt. What if Adam Cole teamed with Michael Cole? They could call themselves the Vintage Coles. Huh?
I'm so glad you don't book anymore.
Vintage Coles. Okay. Anyway, this was a good match, and the one thing I'll remember from this match though is the reaction, how over, the MJF and Adam Cole were. Baby, exactly. The second match is far more interesting. Not necessarily a better match, but yeah.
I roll.
What, you don't like Jungle Boy? Or what do you have against Hook? What do you have against limos? Or do you have something against Real Glass? I don't know.
My problem is actually Hook. I think he couldn't, work charisma out of the side of a paper bag. Like, he is a font of a waste of my time.
He does not have his dad's charisma or his wrestling talent, right? I don't think it's the worst second generation wrestler ever. I think that he's not that bad, right? But he's not that good either.
No.
And
well, we talked about this match in particular, but even you are like, I think this is Hook's best match ever.
And I did think it was. And I would say that that's thanks to Jungle Boy, but or Jack Perry, whatever. Is he still going by Jungle Boy?
No, I think he's moved on to Hollywood Jack Perry.
Hollywood Jack Perry. If it's, I do have to say that I love the heel, persona of Jack Perry. I think that's something that could take him to the next level. As long as he doesn't, get himself suspended or something. We'll touch on that later. But he comes out in a limo, which I thought was pretty cool. It fit him.
Yeah.
And they start brawling. In the, basically they meet in the aisleway, I think, or Hook comes to him, and they start brawling, and they end up brawling on the limo. And at one point, I think Jack Perry, or maybe it's Hook, one of them puts the other one through the windshield. And right before that, go ahead.
Right before that happens, because they're working back and forth on the limo, Jack Perry's in charge of the match at that point, right? He's on top. He looks at the camera, smacks the windshield, and says, "Look, real glass. What's your problem?"
Crimea River.
Oh yeah, Crimea River, as well. And then Hook, as he goes to grab Hook, Hook grabs him and then suplexes him into the windshield.
I gotta say, when Jack Perry said, "Look, real glass, Crimea River," I did pop for it. 'Cause I think we both did, because we were like, I can't believe he just said that. Right? We'll come back to that later, but they had a very good match. It was more of a brawl. They brawled all over. I was surprised. What did Hook win the match with? Because Hook won. Do you remember what he won with? I have notes on the main matches. I didn't take notes on this one. This is all from my memory.
I don't. For a roll up, probably. Because I think he. Did he win with the transmission?
No, he choked him out, and Perry tapped out.
Yeah, he calls it the red rum or something like that, but it's a transmission.
Right. And so Hook won back the FTW championship,
Mhm.
right? And which is probably a good thing. Just because I wouldn't want to see the title have to be vacated. Uh,
Well, well, they had talked about it too. I guess the story was like the storyline was that if Jack Perry won, he was going to permanently retire the FTW title.
yeah, so yeah, it was. I thought this was a good match. Definitely for like on the scale of like Hook matches, this was like Ric Flair and Ricky Steamboat level. But um,
This was not Jack Perry's best match by any means, but he did a really good job carrying
yeah,
Hook through,
mm,
and he got over as a heel very well. I think
yeah,
it worked out well for what it needed to do. And I think he deserves a nice vacation for at least a month or three. So
yeah. Well, we'll touch on it later because there's a lot to cover.
mhm.
So, that'll be the second half of our show. Uh, so let's move on to the first match then. So they announced right before it went to air that the first match was going to be CM Punk and Samoa Joe. Right. Um, I will just say that who knew between the Jack Perry Hook match and the first match happening, when it was announced that Punk and Joe were going to start the show, that it'd be like, huh, I hope, as long as they make it, to the show, it's we'll touch on it. But Samoa Joe comes out first, starts the show. Punk comes out. I gotta say that this match, uh CM Punk looked like he was having fun out there though. Like they both did.
Yeah.
They both looked like they were having fun. I heard like reports that CM Punk looked like he was in a bad mood coming out. I rewatched the entrance. I looked it up on YouTube again and rewatched the CM Punk coming out. He had a smile on his face
I was going to say,
almost from the get-go.
through the whole match, he looked happy. Like
Yeah.
he was happy to be out there with his friend, right? Like him and Joe have
Yeah.
known each other for 20 plus years. They've had amazing matches in ROH and
Mhm.
everywhere
Yeah.
around the world. So like this was a perfect match for him to kind of get in the swing of like that feel, like not to knock the rust off per se, but to get yourself back on track, right? To get yourself going as you expect to be going all the time with somebody.
They could probably have, a good match, in their sleep without any preparation.
Yeah.
They could probably get in there and just call it and have a pretty decent match.
And
This
there's
match,
some people you can do that with. Like I was just talking to Bud Birch today at training,
Mhm.
and we had a practice match today, and like that was exactly it. We didn't call anything. It was completely 100% on the fly, and it was a fairly good match. Nobody said anything about any issues with the match, any thoughts that they had that were bad. It was good character match and everything else. It was the reappearance of Indie Mike, so it was all good.
Yeah, there's certain people that you have that chemistry with, that you can do that with. I used to be that way with Kid Chaos. I used to be able to get in there with him and just like we wouldn't have to call anything, we just could work and it was always, pretty decent, if not really good. I could probably do the same with like Carrie, with Assassin Spencer Cage. We just had that chemistry that we knew each other so well. We knew what the other guy was going to do before they did it.
That's how I am with Josh Glade too. And then Super D when he was on are still with us.
Yeah.
I can get in with Super D and just have a match. For that match, it was me bumping constantly, but I could do it, and it was easy. So
yeah, that's how it was when I was with Assassin Spencer Cage too. It was like, all right, I know how to take all this stuff. That's what we're doing. All right. But yeah, and so these two, I think this match was a very good match. Was it like great? No, because they're, it's probably been 20 years since they've been in the ring together.
Mm-hmm.
So so it wasn't like one of their best matches of all time. If you've seen, if you haven't seen the Ring of Honor matches, go back and watch. But it was very good, and I thought it was a very good opener. Great way to kick off the show. And Punk retains his Real World's Championship, which he still has never lost. And so he ended up beating Samoa with a very cool thing. He won the match with a Pepsi plunge. Off the second rope, I believe it was. Or maybe
that's where he usually did it.
Yeah.
Occasionally, like if he worked to somebody like AJ Styles or somebody like that, they would do it off the top. For those who don't know, a Pepsi plunge is a top rope, or in this case, off the second rope, pedigree.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, very, very cool. Great way to, finish it with something that wasn't the go to sleep or the Anaconda Vice. But it was very good, and it had a lot of cool moments too. And CM Punk bled, which I did not have on my bingo card that CM Punk would be the first one to bleed on the show.
Yeah.
For those wondering, if you have John Moxley anywhere on your bingo card that he is gonna bleed, you pretty much got a free space. Okay, so it's like that's like your free space on your bingo ticket.
Yep.
But Punk bled, and which is really interesting that they bled on the opener, the opening match. So that's a little interesting to me.
They've done that in the last couple, where they've had the opener usually bleed, which sadly takes away from the ability of somebody else doing it.
Yeah. But it was still, it was a good match.
Yep.
And so there was some. Samoa Joe did a couple of spots too where he did his thing where he'd like walk away from Punk, when he was doing a move to the outside, and then Punk would splat. And so good stuff. I really enjoy this match. Will I remember it a year from now? Probably not. I'll remember I'll remember more about kind of CM Punk from this, but not for the reasons you'd think. So we'll move on to the next match. Did you have any other comments on the Punk Joe match, though?
No, like you said, it was nowhere near their best match, but it was nowhere near a bad match either. It was a good match, and for the true opener of the show, I thought it did exactly what it needed to do. It got the crowd hyped, which they were already hyped because of the last two matches, but it got them hyped. So
yeah, little did we know what was happening. But so the second match was Bullet Club Gold and hold on if I can pronounce his name. Because I'm trying to remember who's everyone in it. We got so we had Kenny Omega. We'll start there. I know how to pronounce his name. So we had Kenny Omega, Hangman Adam Page, and Kota Ibushi versus Jay White, Rock Hard Juice Robinson, and Kensuke Takeshita. Takeshita. I knew I was gonna mess it up. Okay, Takeshita. And this match was actually a very good match, which I knew it would be. This match was probably the best match on the show up to this point. It was what you would expect. It's lots of false finishes, lots of near falls, lots of spots, right? But it was pretty good. And this match, I mean, honestly, there was so much happening in it. It's hard for me to like remember a lot of the specific spots that happened. I know that I think Kenny Omega's team won. Did they? Do you remember?
I believe so.
Okay. Well, I'm looking right now.
I feel like somebody pinned Juice Robinson. I think that's who took the pin.
That sounds right. That for sure sounds right. I'm looking right now.
While you're doing that, I want to express that you might have enjoyed this and thought it was the best match on the card so far. I enjoyed it. It was not the best match on the card so far. I still go back to that tag match with Adam Cole and MJF as the best match on the card up to this point. One, and an easy way to explain it, we know how the match ended, right?
That is true. You've got a good point there. I think action wise, I thought it was really good. But you're right.
It's 31 flavors. Like some people like one thing, some people like another thing. For me, like I like a little bit more story and like slower pace. Some people might more high spotty stuff, which this is definitely that. So.
We were completely wrong. Kenny Omega took the pin.
Oh,
and how do you pronounce it again? Takeshita. He actually was the one that pinned. Oh yeah, he won with a roll up. I remember that they did a lot of near falls and everything, and then Takeshita.
Oh yeah, they had a slapjack or something, right? That's right. Because it was what's his nuts? Who comes out with Takeshita now? Used to come out with Kenny Omega.
Don Callis.
Don Callis was distracting the ref with something, and then hands Takeshita a shenanigan. And I think that's, if I'm right, that's how they won.
They won with a roll up. So,
well, I mean, due to like they hit something and then won with the roll up or something like that. Don Callis was involved.
It possibly.
My point being, by the way, again, we don't remember the finish.
Yeah. That's true. That's a good point. So you can put all the high spots you want in the world. If nobody remembers how it ends or who went over, then, well, could be done.
I don't even remember the story of the match. Like, I remember certain spots in the match, but ask me who took most of the bumps, who took the heat, right? Couldn't tell you. I can tell you in the other tag match with MJF, because it was MJF, took the heat.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's like even that one, they were building to things, right? They were building him doing a dive, which he was afraid of doing, which he didn't do in this match. Yes. They built to the kick, the what they call it, the kangaroo kick, right? They built to the hot tag, and then they called their finish for the double clothesline.
Double clothesline,
right? How can you tell me that match is not the best match up to this point, right? How could you say that the current match we're talking about with Kenny Omega and his team against Takeshita and their team, how could you say that this was a better match?
I mean, I guess it just goes with taste, I guess, of what because, different flavors of ice cream, right? Because, like, it'd be like you watching WrestleMania 3, right? And it's like, how can you say that Ricky Steamboat versus Randy Savage was a better match than Hogan and Andre, right? Because look at the crowd for Hogan and Andre, right? And
I mean, I agree with you. And if you look at the story of the two, there is a big story with Hogan and Andre. But if you look at Ricky and
they had a great story too.
They had a great story, yeah. So it's different. But I think it's more about nostalgic bits, right? People don't remember one, but remember the other more. And I think this will be the same thing. I think that we will have people remembering the tag match against Aussie Open a lot more than they will ever remember this 6-way.
Well, yeah, because you've seen a lot of those types of matches, right? You've seen a lot of those types of matches, and after a while, they're great matches, but they all kind of blend together, at least to me. And to you, it seems
probably why we can't remember the finish.
Yes. Not saying that if I was going to watch wrestling and that match was coming up next, I'd still be looking forward to it, but at the same time, it's, plug and play, basically, put whoever in there and do that style of match, and it's going to be very good. But you're right, it doesn't, it's not very memorable, I guess. The next match, however, was for the AEW World Tag Team titles this one, FTR versus the Young Bucks. This one was a very good tag match. The only thing that I would say takes it away from like all-time great territory is just more selling, more so from the Young Bucks.
Yeah.
But if you look at like as far as tag team wrestling and whatnot, it was very well done. And I do remember the FTR retained the tag team titles. And they won with their Shatter Machine, which was excellently done.
Yeah.
It was if I remember, they got they got really high for it.
If I remember, it came off of I think they were trying to do the springboard maneuver or something, caught him in the midair for or something like that.
Yeah. Yes. And it was very nicely done. This match, I feel like even with their history, they could have built it up a little bit more with the grudge match type thing. I mean, after the match, FTR went to shake Young Buck's hand and they didn't shake the hands. And I heard that they said that this feud will never end. And so I feel like it's going to kind of be like Hardy's, Edge, and Christian, or Hardy's and the Dudley Boys, where you can, or what's another one that, maybe Midnight Express and Rock and Roll Express, that type of feud where you can put them together at any point and build on the story. And it's going to be something long term that you can tell a different shade of story each time.
And you can also just drop it in, right? Like at any point, they're like, "Oh, let's put a tag match on this card, right? Mm-hmm. Oh, who should we do? Oh, easily FTR and the Young Bucks. Then we can build the story from there because it's already pretty much pre-made for us."
And I feel like FTR is really creating a good resume for being one of the greatest tag teams of all time. I don't know if I place them there just yet, just because like I've said before, I've seen so many great tag matches that and so many great tag teams that I just don't know if they're there yet. But I will say they're one of the best tag teams around today. I feel like there's really, to me, it's between them and the Usos. I feel like they're above the Young Bucks just with accomplishments and the reigns and everything, but they're right there with the Usos. Maybe New Day is another one that's maybe up there, but New Day kind of, it was like 3 people, and so they kind of did Freebird rules type of thing. And so I don't look at any 2 of the New Day and say, oh, those 2 are, one of the best tag teams. It was just kind of a collective group. But FTR, definitely one of the 2 or 3 best tag teams in the world today.
Yeah, easily right there at the top. And I think they're just missing that really good feud to be considered one of the greatest tag teams of all time.
Mm-hmm. And maybe this Young Bucks feud could be that. They just need more heat on it. Mm-hmm. Like, I think if they had played up the whole thing with CM Punk, that whole thing where they were Punk's friends, and if they played up with that, they wouldn't even have to involve CM Punk if they didn't want to do that. They could play off of that hatred though, and kind of even just like subtly tell that story, and then it branches off into a blood feud where somebody does a big beatdown or something. There's a story there to be told, and it's right there. It's like so close. Like, I think right now they're relying on just these are the 2 best tag teams, and so they're going.
Well, they are talking about some history too. Like, they were talking about stuff with them from like the Young Bucks doing their videos online, and that's how like the FTR got their name is from the Young Bucks, stuff like that.
Yeah. But they did that all in a video package. They should have told that story, I think, more on the main shows.
Agreed.
Because just doing a video package, the casual fans, they don't know that story. And so they're like, why are these guys? Oh, here's a video package. Oh, that explains it. but they could have been talking about it in promos leading up to it a little bit better.
Yeah.
All right, so the next match, we've got the Stadium Stampede match. I know how much you love multiple tag team type matches, back to back to back. So we've got, at least this one's a little bit different than the other matches previously, because there's no rules. It's just a big old brawl. So you've got Mike Santana, who has a first name now.
Yep.
Yes, you've got Ortiz, who does not have a first name. That's weird. Why does one get a first name and the other doesn't?
He bulked up. Mike did, so he was able to earn. He was able to earn that name. Like Tony Khan's like, you're like, man, if you can't like bench like 220, then you don't get a first name. Sorry.
I'm pretty sure that's how Vince booked in the 80s too, or in the 90s. It's like, oh, your Theory. Oh, you've bulked up a little bit. Now you're Austin Theory again. It's like, oh, you've lost some weight. We're taking away Austin, right? It's just, I think that's what happened. That's what happened there. It's just based on how ripped he looks.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so we're getting tons of little jabs in here. Love it. So we got Mike Santana, Ortiz, John Moxley, Claudio Castagnoli, and Wheeler Yuta versus Eddie Kingston, Penta, Trent Beretta, Chuck Taylor, and Orange Cassidy. There's a video online that I was watching today that has all of the entrances, just the entrances from All In, and I was watching it back, and it made me remember like whose entrances I really enjoyed and who's seemed unique and everything. I thought in both of these, when Wild Thing plays and they come out, when the Combat Club comes out, I thought that it was really cool. I'm sure for the UK fans there, it was really cool to have that playing throughout the whole arena and them coming out through the crowd, which is, they've done a billion times, but in England, it just seemed like it was cooler. I don't know.
Well, they had so around the ring on the floor seating that they had, because Wembley is normally like a tennis arena. That's where they do a lot of the tennis matches and stuff. So they have this whole open area, a lot more than they would in other places. And when they were walking in, you can just see all the fans kind of go around them, and they only had like 4 security members to watch, and like all the fans were like bumping up against them, taking selfies, like they were losing their bloody minds.
Yeah, it was. I mean, when you haven't gotten AEW before and you haven't seen these stars, up close like that, just that entrance alone, they're probably like, this is pretty cool. We're getting to experience this. And I also thought when Orange Cassidy came out with the best friends, Orange Cassidy just seems like he's perfect for England. Like you could just tell that that's a gimmick that England really loves. More, I mean, he gets over in the States and everything, but for some reason, I remember thinking, like, I can't wait for Orange Cassidy to come out because you cannot do this All In show in Wembley Stadium without Orange Cassidy on the show.
Yeah.
It just seems like he'd be very popular over there. So this match is pretty much what you'd expect if you've seen these type of brawls, before. They don't really break a lot of new ground. It's a big bloody brawl. I will say though that I found it funny that there was a handful of guys that were taking the big bumps and the bleeding and the very hardcore stuff in the ring, and then there were guys that, so you could tell that some were out there taking the bumps in the match and some weren't. But they did do some inventive things in this match, and I say that by Moxley doing sick stuff, because he had the skewers stuck in his head and just like hanging from his skin. Like it was very gross. Like I don't know who thought of that. Moxley, I'm sure, but because I know we were joking. We are like, what does Renee see in this guy? Because
Right,
like I don't get it. Like he doesn't seem like he has the best personality. He doesn't, he wants to do all these hardcore matches, which
he,
makes me view him very differently after, I remember when he left WWE, everybody was like, "Oh, it's just Vince, not letting him be him or whatever." But now I'm like, it's probably a good thing. He
right.
was, he was getting saved from himself from doing these ideas.
Yeah, I made the joke when they did the score. It's like, tell me you used to wrestle for CZW without telling me you used to wrestle for CZW,
Oh.
because that's the kind of thing that they would do, and stuff like that. And he had done in CZW when he before he ever made it up to the WWE. I also made the joke that what Renee sees in him is his life insurance policy. Um, I mean,
Yeah.
whatever they're into, like, I ain't gonna king shame. I ain't gonna
Oof.
say someone shouldn't love somebody, right? But it is definitely a hard one, and he's definitely a person I would very much want to make sure that he had his hepatitis checks done fairly regularly, like his blood checks done, before
Mhm.
ever getting anywhere near a match, let alone the match after him.
The big problem I have with Moxley, like when he first came into AEW, right? It's like he didn't do all this stuff all the time. He did it sparingly, right? The big spots, here and there, and he was seen as like a main event guy.
Yeah.
With him doing these hardcore things all the time, it's there's no talent in what he's doing. It's just he's almost lowered his value with the company and kind of in general,
Hmm.
because it's the same match every time. They do some new crazy things like the skewers, but there's no story being told.
No. The only thing close to a story that was told in this actually came
Mhm.
from the best friends and Orange Cassidy. So at one point, the best friends are Orange Cassidy getting their butt kicked on the side, and Trent's mom rolls up in the
Mhm.
van, right? Which
Yep.
is the callback to that story with his mom and everything else that they've done in the past. And then a story that's been going pretty much all year since Orange Cassidy won the TNT title. TNT,
Yeah.
yeah, TNT title, or
Hmm.
no, not TNT
No,
title,
the
the international title.
international though.
Yeah, since he won that title, he's been they've been doing a story where he's been defending it so often. He's hurt. He's constantly working and wrestling hurt, where his back's injured, his hands injured, and so on and so forth. And they even play into this where he hits the orange punch at one point and goes for the pin, but his hand is hurt so bad that he can't hit the orange punch with the full force like he normally does. So then he has to pull out some double sided tape and a
Yes.
thing of glass, like a bottle. He breaks a
Mhm.
glass and puts it into a bucket, and then does the like kickbox or Muay Thai thing where he just covers his whole hand in the glass, and ends up taking a bump in that same glass because it gets dumped out. But
Mhm.
he ends up punching. What was it called?
Moxley, right? Is it
I
or
don't think it was Moxley. I think it was somebody
no?
else.
No, I'm reading right now. He hits Moxley
Was
and
it
pins him. Yep, he pinned Moxley.
Pin Moxley with it then? But he does it. But he tells the story like he had a one up it because he's so injured. He had to do something else to get over finally. So that's the only kind of story they told in this match at all. And it's just kind of the story that's been going on, and it had nothing to do essentially with the people in it. And as people know, I'm not a big fan of any Kingston. I think he's a garbage wrestler and such. And this match kind of proved it because all he did was him and Claudio worked around the arena the whole time, very rarely ever having the camera on them. And then eventually he comes down with a chair and hits a couple of people, and then goes in for I guess it was a spear, but it didn't really look like anything good, into Moxley. It was Moxley. So there's no way that, or was it Claudio?
Yeah.
No, it was Moxley. He hits Moxley into that barbed wire table thing, and they lay in there for the rest of the match. So there's no way that Orange Cassidy hits Moxley for the pin.
No, it was no, it was. I thought it was Kingston and Claudio that was in the
I thought it was Kingston and Moxley. I'm pretty sure it was Kingston and Moxley.
I don't know. I'm
But
like my notes here say it's Moxley, but who knows? I'm reading this off of a site. I don't know if it was maybe they
again,
got confused too.
this is the same concept as earlier. They've had so many of this kind of match that you forget because it all blends together.
There's so much in there that it's just this is Crash TV in a match.
Yes. At one point, they end up having a tape or a ladder that breaks, and they still end up using it to jump off of in this match.
It's
Right?
insane.
Yeah.
Insane.
So
I mean, if you like this style of wrestling, this was a great match. It's just that I can only take so much of this style of wrestling. Like I can take it if it's built up to this and it's one match, but when this is like a series of matches where it's just this type of match and that's all Moxley wrestles in now, it just kind of blurs together for me.
I would like to be able to say that I like this match, but I didn't at all. Period. I think it's the worst match on the card. In fact, this to me is ostensibly not much different than going to someone's backyard fed and watching the promoter slash owner slash champion wrestle in a multi-man match with a bunch of his buddies and doing this crazy crap that they saw in CZW. That's what this match was to me.
Yeah. Let's move on to the next match.
Sure.
So the next match is the 4-way women's title match. You got, I want to say that Saraya comes out first, and it's in her home. You know, she's from London, right? She's from England, at least. Not London specifically, but the surrounding area. And she comes out to Queen's "We Will Rock You," which is awesome. But then she also is being accompanied to the ring by her family. Her whole family is there, which is really cool, especially if you've seen like, the movie, Fighting with Family and things like that, and the kind of the history of her and her family.
Yeah.
It had a very cool. I was just so happy for her that she got that kind of moment in her hometown, basically. And then you also had Toni Storm come out next, which I've become a big Toni Storm fan as well. And I thought that she was going to win this initially. And then you got Dr. Britt Baker, DMD.
And for everyone that can't see this because it's an audio podcast, he did do the D with the finger, M with the finger, D with the finger. So
yes. And I am a big Britt Baker fan. I think she's kind of the heart of the women's division in AEW.
I think she's the best wrestler in AEW on the female division.
I don't know if that's true now, but she's one of them. But I do think she's the heart and soul of the women's division. But then you've got Hikaru Shida,
who is the current champion up to this point.
Yes, exactly. She's the current champion coming in. This match was all right. They kind of told a story. I think the big story of the match was kind of the dissension with Toni Storm and Saraya. Because they were teaming up together at first, and then, like always happens when you've got two friends in a multi-person match, they both try to get the win, and the other person doesn't like it. Hey, what are you doing? That's my win. Yeah. And it's like, no, it's my win. And it breaks out into kind of a fight, and it eventually leads to the finish of let's see here. So Shida was trying to pin Britt Baker. Saraya comes in and sprays spray paint in Toni Storm's eyes and hits her with her DDT to win the title. So
I don't know what site you're pulling that from. So that's not all what happened. Well, I
She
can't say it
sprayed
all.
her, right?
She did spray her for the finish, and does go with DDT. Well, Britt Baker has got Hikaru Shida in the lockjaw.
Yes, that's right. Okay,
So,
so
but this is also before that happened. Um, Tony Storm has, I believe, it's Britt Baker, and on the outside, and has Soraya's mom hold her so she can get a couple of shots in. So she pops her a couple of times, and she goes for a big elbow. So she comes getting ready to run in for a big elbow, and Britt Baker moves, and Tony Storm pops Soraya's mom, who, by the way, is a
yes,
worker. So she knows how to
right.
take this, right? And she sells the crap out of it. And then gets up all pissed off and everything else. But Soraya is watching this happen as Tony Storm's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to hit you. Didn't mean to hit you." Turns around, sees Soraya's pissed off, like, "Did you just hit my bloody mom?" She's like, "I'm so
Right.
sorry, it was an accident, right?" But then, as they're going back and forth, they're fighting, boom, boom. Tony gets mad and is rips off the bottom turnbuckle in the corner, at exposing the hard buckle,
Yep.
and puts Soraya right there with her neck right there, getting ready to hit her with that hip check in the corner. And
Yes.
Ruby Soho, who's the other member of the Outcasts that these three are a part of, comes running out and it's like, "Don't do it. Her neck, her neck. The reason she was out and can wrestle for a long time. Don't do
Right.
this." And Tony Storm hits Ruby and is like, "I'm gonna do this," and she's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry," and then Ruby leaves, and that kind of builds towards this finish.
Yeah, you're much better at the details.
When it's a story in a match, I remember. When it's just random high flying crap, I don't. That's why I don't work for companies that just do random high flying crap. I work for Devotion, who has great stories in their matches.
So yeah, it was, I was very, very happy for Soraya though. She got to celebrate with her family, and she won the title after she thought her career was over before AEW, and she was able to come back and now to win their championship. Very, very cool moment. And then I do want to mention though that multiple times throughout the night, not during this match specifically, but multiple times during the match, they actually did show
Mercedes Moné.
yes, they showed her in the crowd. She was there watching, taking in the crowd, which I firmly believe that when she's healed up, she's going to AEW. Because I mean, you don't show somebody on TV unless there's some sort of a deal in place, or some sort of, at least a a non-verbal agreement or a verbal agreement, something that you think is going to happen. I know that Tony Khan in the scrum afterwards kind of played up the fact that, or said, she's not cleared yet, and he just invited her to, so she could come watch the show and everything, because it'd be a cool thing for her to watch. And I think there's more to it than that. I don't think that she's close to returning, but she looks good.
What I could see, especially since she's working at New Japan, is I could totally see it where they do a story build up for the next Forbidden Door next year, where her and Willow Nightingale, who is currently the Strong Style champion in New Japan, they end up working a match in AEW for the Forbidden Door. I could totally see that, or even like any of the other pay-per-views that they could build towards that because they have that working relationship.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I could totally see that. Which I'm all for. I want her in AEW. But and if she does challenge, if she does come in and let's say wrestle Soraya, they have a perfect story going in, because Monet as Sasha Banks was actually the one that injured Soraya, who was Paige at the time. And that's kind of, it was in a match with her that the injury happened. So they could build on that and play on the heat and, make it into a story.
Yeah.
So the next match, it's our coffin match, right? I don't think it was a coffin match. It was called a casket match, right?
It was. What's it called? The casket match?
Oh, no, it was a coffin match. Never mind. I'm getting them mixed up between the two because it's exactly the same.
Yeah.
So whatever you want to call it. But you got Swerve Strickland and Christian Cage, who is a replacement, by the way, because it wasn't supposed to be Christian.
Oh.
Who was he replacing? Remember?
A something Fox. A.H. Fox, something like that. I can't remember his name. AC Fox?
That sounds right. Yeah, Fox. Yep.
Yeah.
So they're facing Darby Allin and Sting. And Sting actually comes out to seek and destroy, which I remember we were trying to place it. It's like, oh, it's his old WCW thing. That's not his most popular one. No, it's when they were doing kind of the Metallica type thing and stuff like that. So it was his a WCW theme towards the later years. So this match is, I mean, kind of what you'd expect. I think they did do a table spot, if I'm not mistaken, where Sting was like trying to put somebody through a table by splashing them. It didn't break, and so he tries it again. This time he jumps off kind of with his full body on it, like his butt, right, to break the table. Am I remembering that correctly?
Yeah, so he jumped off the first time to grab an elbow drop onto Swerve Strickland, and it doesn't break the table. It kind of like bows it, but it doesn't break. And he gets up and goes on the apron and jump. This is to the outside, and just jumps on and does like a Becky Lynch style leg drop, where she does that leg drop where she kind of just like lands on the person, and does that on the Swerve Strickland's back, which then does play a bit later as well. So it kind of actually turned out well towards the end of the match.
Yeah, it was. I thought it was good. There was some stuff where who got slammed or choke slammed or whatever onto the coffin and dented it. You remember who dented the coffin? Trying to see.
I feel like it was Darby. I mean, it seems like a Darby thing to happen. But I'm trying to remember what he got hit with that he got dropped onto the coffin like that. Don't remember. But they did a lot with that coffin.
There. So Darby tries a coffin drop onto Swerve on the coffin, but that misses and Darby dents the coffin with his body.
Yeah.
That's what happened. Yeah, they did a lot with that casket where it was, and then they tried to like close it, and like one cool spot was Sting was in the coffin in the ring, and they went to close it, but Sting had the bat, and he like had it like where the coffin lid wouldn't shut because the bat was in the way. So that was a kind of a cool like false finish or whatnot for this type of a match. So Sting and Darby, of course, win because they always. I don't think Sting's lost too many of these types of matches.
Not many. But the finish for it was really interesting. So they put Swerve into the casket, and he gets his leg out. He's fighting, trying to get out. Boom, boom, boom. And now he's like crawling halfway out. So half of his body is hanging out of it. And they close the lid on it. And then Darby does the coffin drop onto the lid again with Swerve's body hanging like only halfway out of it. So like literally all that coffin lid took right onto his lower back. And then they pushed him in the rest of the way and closed it. It was a crazy finish. I don't know how you do that, but like I don't know how any of that does work without like killing yourself. It's insane.
Yeah, it was, I don't know how Sting keeps doing these matches either, at his age. But so I saw this joke on it. It's like, do we start calling Darby All In now? Get it? I didn't come up with the joke. I just read it. I thought it was funny. So moving on to the next match, we've got.
You should feel bad for that joke.
I've told worse. I have.
I'm not saying you haven't. I'm saying you just should feel bad for that joke.
Yeah. Maybe I would if I came up with it, but I didn't. I read it. But the next match, Chris Jericho versus Will Ospreay. This match. So Jericho comes to the ring, by the way, performing with Fozzy on the, and then basically singing his way to the ring, which was pretty cool. This match, I don't remember a lot of it. However, I do remember this overperformed like anything I had expectation wise for this match. Like it made it seem like Jericho still got it. He's still a main event guy. Like I don't know if Ospreay just performs miracles or if Jericho just brought his A game, because he was in there with Will Ospreay. But this was a great match, and dare I say, this match might be my favorite match from the show.
This is definitely up there for me. Up to this point, it is my favorite match of the show. And by the way, it's not perfect by any means. Because Jericho, I mean, the man's in his late 50s. So there's only so much he can do. But he tried his damnedest, and he did a great job at it. He did more than I could do. And I'm not even 40 yet. So he did a great job in everything he did. Will Ospreay was bloody amazing. And if he wasn't already over like crazy, this match made it so. He's from London, so he was already getting the hometown love and everything else like that. He hit some amazing moves. He hit a version of Juice Effect that actually looked like it killed, unlike sometimes where Jericho hits it and doesn't look like it even like really does a ton of damage. And then, of course, he hits that hidden blade, which busts Jericho's mouth open and such. And it just, oh my God, it looks so good. Jericho tried to do a off spray cutter or whatever it is, an off scutter. And I don't know if he slipped on the rope or whatnot, but he didn't get a good one on it. But for the most part, they did really well.
That to me, that spot was like the one like thing that didn't look good to me.
Yeah.
Like honestly, everything else, Jericho was like keeping up with him pretty well.
Yeah. I think this was done really well. They told a really good story. They told the story with Sammy Guevara out there too.
Yeah.
Building to what's probably going to be a program with Jericho and Sammy Guevara. So
yeah. So the finish here, Ospreay sets up the hidden blade, and Jericho basically tells him to bring it on, flips him off and everything. Ospreay hits it and then follows up with another Stormbreaker, because he had hit one earlier, and that finished it. Way over delivered. I really hope that Will Ospreay comes in full time and is able to do more stuff with them and not the occasional like to me, like he's almost like Logan Paul as far as coming in, having a great match, and then leaving for a bit. He's kind of a part-time, I mean, I heard he's a free agent, so maybe he comes over now.
Well, and I would never call him a part-timer because he's currently working on the indies in general.
Right.
He worked the show that Friday. Like that Friday night, he worked the show. Yeah. So, like, the boy's working.
Yeah, I'm not saying he's a part-timer in the wrestling business, but he's kind of a part-timer at AEW because he's had, this is like, his third match? Maybe fourth in AEW?
He has had 2 with Kenny. He was involved in the 6-man, I believe. And then this one, I think that's right. I think it's been 4.
Maybe a 5th one, because I think he worked the previous Forbidden Door against
that was the other one with Kenny.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So he's done 2 with Kenny, and then he did a 6-man somewhere. I think it was right after the last Forbidden Door, or the first Forbidden Door. So
either way, but either way, I want to see more of him on our television. I think he adds a lot.
Yeah, my wife's a big fan of him
too. So then we've got Nigel McGuinness, actually, who was on commentary, he announced the attendance is 81,035, setting the new record for paid attendance at a wrestling show. And then you've got the World Trios title match next. You've got the House of Black versus the Acclaimed and Badass Billy Gunn. So
House of Black, by the way, who came out with a
yes.
Bray Wyatt style lantern and left it on the entryway as they came out. It's a great spot.
Yeah, it was a great tribute. And there were several wrestlers, by the way, that had like armbands, with the initials for like Bray Wyatt, Terry Funk. That I forget who, but somebody had it also for
It was Briscoe. What was the other one?
yeah,
Jay Briscoe.
Briscoe
Oh,
and Brody Lee, right? Was
yeah,
it Brody
and
Lee?
Brody Lee was one as well. Who was it?
Gosh. Oh, was it
I don't remember.
FTR? It might have been FTR.
Maybe.
Yes, because they were close with with Jay, and so with Jay Briscoe, and so I remember it's like, oh, that makes sense that they'd have Briscoe because they had wrestled them so many times. But yeah, so they had that earlier, but there was tributes all around. This match, I mean, the scissor me thing's over everywhere. It's kind of cool to see, the all the scissors in the crowd and everything from the London crowd and whatnot. But you had here you had the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn. They end up winning the trios championships, which I feel was a very good payoff to this match, or I mean, not
Yeah,
to the match, but to the whole story of
the whole
this.
program they did. Yeah,
But of Billy like kind of saying he was going to retire, and then coming back as badass Billy Gunn and and winning the toss. They had the right team won here because you couldn't do it any other way. It run its course any other which way, and this was the only way they could go to keep that story going and to have a payoff.
One of my favorite moments in this match is actually from the commentary team. I can't remember who said it. I think it was Nigel McGuinness that said it, but it made me laugh so hard. Is they do the Shiver Me Timbers, which is that
Yes.
second rope leg drop while one of the members, in this case, both Billy as well as the other one whose name escapes me, is holding the legs open. But this one time they do it to Julia Hart.
Yes.
And give her the leg drop. And someone's like, I'm pretty sure it's not Rodriguez. He
It's
goes,
Taz.
so Chivalry Timbers. Oh, was it Taz?
Taz was the one that said right in the yam bag.
Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe so hard. It was so funny. And, like, it was the best part of the match for me. Like, because I sat there just giggling the whole time because I'm a 14-year-old boy. So
it was very funny. It was definitely funny. But yeah, and I think it was multiple, like basically double famousers or multiple famousers to win the title.
It was 3 famousers in a row, and then they hit they hit 3 famousers, and then they hit their double finish. They do that weird side effect like drop that the one guy does, and then the mic drop the other one does. I can't remember either of their names right now off the top of my head. So
yeah, and then so then you've got the final match: MJF versus Adam Cole for the AEW World Title.
Best match of the night.
It's up there with the Jericho match for me. And Ospreay. It had the better story.
I'm a story whore, as we've talked about before.
Right, and I am too for the most part. I mean, I'm a story guy, but there was just something because for a babyface versus babyface match, this might be one of the best ones that there are because there wasn't the heat of a vicious heel or whatnot, and that you were waiting for somebody to turn, and it just never really happened, but they did tease it. But the crowd was so into this match, and it was so over, and MJF was over and loving it, and it was stiff. It was a very stiff match.
Yes, it was.
And gosh, I mean, it's impossible for me to go over everything that happened in this match. The one cool spot that I really remember, and did you want to say it? Or is that?
I can go over a chunk of this match because I watched it back again.
Oh, you did? Okay, go for it.
I did. So they do a lot of fun spots in there. Like one of my favorite ones is though MJF is quote unquote the face, he does heelish things, right? So they do the bit where at the beginning MJF like they lock up, they go back and forth a little bit and do a couple of spots here or there. Do like, oh look, you do good, or you do good shine, I do good shine, those kind of things. And then MJF's like, good job, shake my hand. All right, cool, great job. And then he gives him a poke in the eye. It's like, oh look, I'm still a dick, right? And then uh,
Yeah.
Adam Cole goes over to the corner, and MJF's like, "Come on, man, I got you. It's it was all for fun and games." Boom, boom, boom. And he pulls him in, and then Adam Cole slaps him. And the whole story of this match is Adam Cole is getting more aggressive, more angry as this match is going on, where MJF's kind of just having fun for a lot of it. And then
Mhm.
as they're building to this, and Adam Cole, like I said, he's just getting more aggressive and more aggressive. And it gets to a part where MJF ends up Adam Cole ends up taking MJF to the outside onto the stairs and gives him a brainbuster on the stairs. And
Ooh.
MJF sells it dead, like completely dead. So much so that like you get almost like an anxiety of worry while he's getting 10 counted out. And Adam Cole's out there. It's like, but he gets back in the ring and it's like, come on, Max, get up, Max. Come on, Max. He's rooting for his friend to get up because he's worried that he actually hurt him severely and stuff like that. And it's like, come on, get back in the Max. Come on, let's go, get back in. And he like, you could see that worry. Adam Cole portrays that so well. And then MJF does get back in just before the 10 count. And they go back and working a little bit more. And then they go to work to the outside. And at this point, MJF is starting to get back, and they get onto the table, and MJF goes to give the pile driver. Yeah, it goes to
Tombstone.
give the tombstone pile driver
Yep. Yep.
to Adam Cole, and he can't do it, and
Mhm.
uh, he just isn't able to do it. And then Adam Cole turns it around and hits him with one instead, and tries to get him back. And the same thing, boom. But they keep going back and forth like this, where Adam Cole just can't do those like dick moves to do more aggressive things. Where Adam Cole is. They also have a spot that goes back and forth earlier, telling a story that they've been doing for a while now. Since she was a tag team, is Adam Cole has been trying to convince MJF to do a dive outside, right? To dive from the outside or inside outside. And he just gets afraid. And they try it earlier in the match, and he can't do it. And then Adam cuts him off. And then they do it towards the end, and Adam or MJF finally hits Adam Cole with it to the outside, and the crowd lights up off of a move that nowadays is as common as an Irish whip, is the dive. So like they blow up on that, right? They get towards the finish of the match, which they do so well. They're building and building and building. Boom! They're both hitting moves, and then they both look at each other and they're like double clothesline, calling back to the finish when they the tag match with the double clothesline. But instead of both of them hitting a line on somebody, they do the double down, double line on each other. Boom! Knock each other down. But the way they land, they both have their shoulders down, but are both bring their arms over each other.
Mhm.
So it's a double pin, and so it goes to being a draw. And fans are booing because they're like, "What is this bullshit?" Right? Excuse my language. I'm just
Yeah.
excited because I really like this match. Then the callback from their previous match they had when they went the full hour. They Matt or Adam Cole's like, "Come on, Max, give me 5 more minutes. 5 more minutes." And the first time around, MJF's like, "No," and left. Right? So he gets the mic and he goes, "No, again." And there's like, "Oh, come on!" Like your heart drops. And he goes, "We're going until we get an effing winner." And they start the match up again, and they go again, and they keep building and building and building. And at one point in time, uh, Adam Cole had hit the Panama Sunrise from the apron to the outside on MJF, throws him in, false finish. But then he goes and hits it. It goes to hit it again inside, and MJF pulls the ref in the way. So Adam Cole hits a Panama Sunrise, which is a jump off the second rope into a Canadian Destroyer on the ref, who eats it and rolls off. And then Roderick Strong, who's been trying to convince him to come out or to turn on MJF to win the title, comes out, kicks Max in the nuts, and it's like, come on, hit him. So he goes to hit him. He goes to the pin. Max kicks out, and then he grabs the title and throws it to Adam Cole. It's like, hit him with the belt. Hit him with the belt. And he's like, getting ready to do it. Just like, I can't, but I want to, but I can't. It's like fighting himself the whole time. And Roderick Strong, who also is playing great in this, is like, come on, man, I'll be your best friend. Come on, let's do it. Come on. And then eventually throws the title away. It's like, no, go to the back. And then Roderick Strong heads to the back again. And then Adam Cole walks over to go grab MJF, and MJF rolls him up for a pin. 1, 2, 3. That's the match. Adam Cole is pissed off. He's over in the corner, like pouting and stuff like that. And MJF celebrating, he's all happy, and sees his friends crying. So he's like, "Look, man, I luck. It was a luck. It could have been you tonight. We were so close. It could have been anything right there." And Adam Cole's like, "Shut up! I don't want to hear it." And he runs and goes, "Look, we still have these." So he grabs the ROH tag titles, and Adam Cole throws them. And he goes, "Oh," he gets all pissed off. No. So MJF's like, I see how it is. You were never my friend. This is what you wanted the whole time. Grabs the AEW belt and goes, "This is what you all were wanting. You never wanted to be my friend." Throws at him, turns his back to him and goes, "Fine, just do it then." And Adam Cole gets ready to hit him. Roderick Strong comes back out again, and Adam Cole's ready to hit him, and he just puts it down, walks over and hugs MJF. Beautiful story. I love it so much. I want more of this.
Hearing you go through it again, I like this match a little bit more. I did love this match. I'm not gonna lie. Again, this was a great match to main event this big show.
Oh yeah.
And I'm glad they're continuing that story with them as Ring of Honor tag champs. And there's so many different ways they can go with it. I'm glad they didn't just blow it off here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Giggity.
This was honestly this is one of the best AEW shows of all time. I feel at least from start to finish as far as match quality and also for the big feel of it, not just the big crowd, but like the entrances, the matches, the energy from everything. Like, this one felt like a big deal because it was.
Yeah. This hit everything it needed to be this. Like, we talked about last week where, you had to make it or break it moments. And like WrestleMania 1 had to do well to continue on. This kind of felt that same way. AEW had to do amazing on the ticket sales, on the quality of the show, the stories that they told, or it would cause downfall of AEW. And I think this knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, it really did. I enjoyed it a lot.
So for the show as a whole,
sorry, go ahead.
Before you go in there, I was going to say, the show as a whole, I think it was fantastic. I don't know, outside of maybe dropping the arena match, because it was kind of a waste of my time. I think I would have been happy with every other match on the card, including the CM Punk match.
But you know what? This show had a little bit of everything for everybody. Like really, like, there's somebody out there, like you said, that thinks that Stampede match was the best match of all time. There's somebody out there, and they love that type of match. I mean, it's probably Concussion. Let's be honest. That loved that match and thought that was the best of all time. His only fault with it is his only gripe with it is probably it didn't have enough blood.
Or enough Sabu.
Right.
With that being
Yeah,
said, we've been teasing it all night. We are going to now talk about the backstage drama that happened ostensibly as they went out
you
for
know,
AEW's first match.
we can't give this its due though because this show's already ran long. Um, and so
Yes.
like because we could probably do a whole other episode on this because I don't because so we gotta give probably the quick and dirty version of this because I don't feel like doing a 3 hour show. To give
A
another hour and 10 minutes.
3 hour show.
Right. Normally, I see what you did there too, where you were like, let's save it till the end of the show because you knew I'm an old man, so you feel I'd be tired, so I wouldn't be able to argue my points as well. Um,
Yeah, it's almost 11 o'clock, man. It's like 3 hours past your bedtime.
it's way past my bedtime. Um, um, but so I mean, I guess we start at the beginning here. We'll try not to, you know, try not to make this last too long, but
Before we go
obviously,
on,
yes.
this is under investigation, so a lot of this is hearsay as well as a whole lot of allegedlys.
Yeah, which is really funny that it's like, oh, it's under investigation. Tony Khan was there this time. He saw it with his own eyes. Everybody saw, there's different versions of what happened that are out there, but this wasn't like the brawl, last year with the the Elite and CM Punk. It wasn't like last year where it was behind closed doors and the only people that were around, were the people that got suspended and everything like that. This wasn't that at all. Everybody saw it. It was like right out in the open.
Yeah,
But
it was like right by Gorilla.
now a lot of stuff is still coming out from it though. There's new wrinkles in it. I'll try to say what we've heard and try to say the multiple stories if we can. But this all started, it's based off of what Jack Perry said in the pre-show. When he looked in the camera and said that's real glass, Cry Me a River, that was a receipt, so to speak, from uh weeks ago where Jack Perry was set to do a spot with glass. He wanted to use real glass on Collision. That spot never happened because so Tony Schiavone and I forget who else, but they were saying, they were suggesting that they not do it. And then Punk stepped in and said, "No, you're not doing that. We don't do that here on Saturday nights. If you want to do that, stay on Wednesdays." Right. And from all accounts, Jack Perry threw a hissy fit and didn't want to do it, or he wanted to do it and was upset. Now, I heard that here's kind of the wrinkle in that. I heard that on Wednesday he had brought it up to like Tony Khan or the hires up or whatever, and they had approved it. And then when he went there, he was mad at Punk because he had already got it approved, but then Punk, put the kibosh on it.
Mm-hmm.
I see both sides at that point if I'm looking at that from that standpoint, because if I'm Punk, honestly, I side with Punk because it's silly to use real glass. You can use sugar glass. It's, why cut yourself up? And Punk thought, well, you're not doing that so you can miss a week, and not be able to work the next week. Although I guess Jungle Boy, Jack Perry, he had a pre-approved vacation to Hawaii that was coming up right after this. So I don't know if his thought process was, oh, I can do this, and if I get hurt, I'm taking time off anyway. That's not how I would want to enjoy Hawaii, but to each their own,
Right?
But so he was upset by that. He clearly was still upset. At the time, it was funny because people kind of said, "Oh, that's over and done with. It's not a big deal." And then clearly, Jack Perry was still upset because he said that on the air on the biggest pay-per-view of that they've ever done. And so he says this in the camera. I don't know what he thought was going to happen. And I also really blame Tony Khan here because we thought it was weird that you had CM Punk and Samoa Joe wrestling, and then immediately after them, you had the Elite coming out, Kenny Omega, Hangman Adam Page. They were coming up next, right? So it's like, that's kind of weird that they did that back to back. They would have had to get Punk out of there quick, not knowing that you also, with Jack Perry having his issues, you have Punk sandwiched between that. You have Jungle Boy that's saying crap right before Punk's about to go out for his match. Right after his match, you got the Elite. We thought there'd be problems with the Elite, but no, it was Jack Perry who, I didn't know had heat with him at all until this incident. So I'm surprised it got to this point that it was that heated over him putting kibosh on it. I guess he felt strongly about it. But so what I heard, and you can kind of jump in with what you heard if anything's different, but Jack Perry went to the back, and I heard that Jack Perry, I've heard two different sides of this, but one side says Jack Perry approached CM Punk, and another side says CM Punk approached him. I don't know which is which. I can see both happening, I guess. But CM Punk basically said, do you have a problem with me? And Jack Perry responded and said, I said what I said out there. And Punk basically said, you know that I can kick your ass, right? And that's what I heard he said, allegedly. And then Jungle Boy said, do something about it then. And Punk shoves Jack Perry. Jack Perry shoves him back. And then CM Punk puts him in a chokehold, and it gets broken up pretty quickly. So nobody really kicked anybody's butt or anything like that. There was no winner here, really, as far, I think it was broken up pretty quickly. Now, the kind of the fallout around this is, I heard that Punk basically thought that, so when he was putting him in the chokehold, it was to make sure that it didn't escalate into anything further. Because, as bad as Punk did in the UFC, he's still a trained fighter. And I'd still put my money on him in a fight with Jungle Boy. But yeah. Right, but it gets broken up. I guess Tony Khan was right there, because I guess apparently monitors fell down onto Tony Khan or something, is what one side of the story that I heard. And then Jungle Boy gets asked to leave the arena. Punk goes out for his match. Now, I guess I heard stories right before this. Punk was pretty upset and threatened to quit, and said, I hate this place. And he basically threatened not to go out and wrestle. So they went to the Young Bucks and FTR first and said, hey, are you guys able to start the show if this match can't go on right now? And they said that they weren't ready. And then they went to Kenny Omega in that group, said, can you start the show? And they said, I guess we can. And so they were preparing to open the show. And then Samoa Joe basically went to Punk, because he was upset. It's like, what are we doing? And talked Punk into putting that aside and starting the show. So then they go out to have their match, which is really interesting, because like I said, when Punk comes out for his match, he's all smiles. It doesn't seem like he's agitated to me. Maybe he's smiling at the fact it's like, can't believe this is happening again, and he knows that he's going to get crap for it and everything.
As he should.
It's, if Jungle Boy, if somebody, says some crap to you on air, it's the biggest show that they've got, and Jungle Boy, what did he think was going to happen? Especially if he went up to Punk in the gorilla position, and walked up to him and whatever, and said, what are you going to do about it? Punk's not going to back down. Now,
so my only response to all of that is simply the same thing I said when we did our Punk episode, so you guys can go back and listen to it, is 3 divorces. Whose fault is it?
Well, now I feel, okay, for devil's advocate's sake, let's say that this was, that the first thing with the Elite, let's say that was mainly Punk that kind of escalated that whole thing, right, and blew that thing up. Let's say that was Punk's doing, right? My opinions on it. We've hashed that out. At this point, I think he has such a target on his back that now guys like Jungle Boy are going and finding him, and basically he's got a target on his head where people are basically checking him, basically like, oh, they don't respect him to, they can go up and say what they want to him, and they know he's on a short leash, and so they know that they can do that, and they expect that they can get away with it. And
yeah, because that's been proven by everyone that's been sent home, and everyone that's had to deal with the drama over the last 4 months with him there. And because he didn't get his own bloody show because Tony Khan's such a mark for him.
No, that was WB that said we want Punk on this show. So,
okay,
I mean,
they might want him on the show, but they don't need to have him be a writer on the show. They don't need to have him be the one to determine whether the talent, the head of talent affairs can be there or not, right? That's who this person is. I can't use that word on TV or on our podcast. That's who this person is that's telling all these people, oh, you are having a problem with me. Yes, they're having a problem with you because you're a bloody Karen who can't seem to wrestle properly anymore like you did 10 years ago. And instead, you're causing a bunch of fights and the possible downfall of the second biggest promotion in the world. And obviously the biggest draw in the world is this. But people aren't coming to watch you anymore for your show. They're coming to see what other problems you're going to cause. You're a bloody cancer.
I want to touch on one earlier thing before I come back to did you hear about CM Punk's travel issues? Get into the building?
Yeah, when he was bitching that they didn't pay for a limo for him? Yeah, I heard about that.
No. They didn't have anybody there to, they said that they'd have travel for him or whatnot to get to the building, and they did not. It's your biggest star in the company, and you're not having somebody make sure that he's getting to the building, and then he can't reach anybody. And the number that they gave him as a contact for transportation, he tried texting it and it bounced back as, undeliverable or whatever. So
I'm sure that's a story he told.
Well, I don't know.
Because everything else I've heard, now mind you, these are all allegedly, and they can come from anywhere, so we don't know exactly what happened.
Sure.
Before I go off on this. But the stories I heard is that he wanted a limo. They weren't paying for a limo. He wanted a limo. They weren't paying for a limo. And because of such, they didn't get him what he was wanting. He didn't go with what they offered. That's what I had heard.
That's not at all what I heard, so I don't know which is. I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying that's the problem with a lot of this.
Mm-hmm.
The problem with a lot of this, and as much as I want to blame Punk for all of this, I can't, because there are so many conflicting stories with all of this, and it's really hard to figure out the truth. The only reason I'm so upset with Punk right now is because my opinion is I feel like he is a washed up star who is trying to bully his way because the owner happens to be a mark for him, and trying to bully his way into what is wanted, and is causing all of this other drama with people. I mentioned earlier about the 3 divorces. It must be whose fault is it? And that's my example of this. You get married 3 times to 3 different women, and you get divorced 3 times, and all of that is their fault. I thought you'd have to start thinking that it's your fault at some point in time, right? All of this drama happens around Punk. There's been small dramas around small things here or there before Punk came around, but nothing on this level, man. And it's always with Punk. He is involved somehow.
Do you think that Punk is wrong in the Jungle Boy situation?
I think that it's a hard one to say now. Initially, when we talked about it, I agreed with you. I don't think Punk was in the wrong in that aspect.
Mm-hmm.
But if he had gotten prior approval from Tony Khan for both his vacation as well as using the glass, and then coming to the show and finding out that he's not allowed to do it because some vet told him he can't, right?
He's not the only one, though. Tony Schiavone said he
Said
couldn't.
well, again, but if you got prior approval, like if I want to go and talk to Manny, right, and said,
Mhm.
hey, can I do this spot? And then I come back and I find out from like cutting
Andrew
or
Sowell. Let's say,
well, so Sowell's similar but slightly different.
well, it's who's running the show, right?
Well, that's my point. Is why hell CM Punk run the show, but it would be a similar concept, right? But if I went and told Sowell, well, Manny said I could. Like he'd already gave me prior approval, and he checked with Manny and find out, okay, Sowell will let me do it.
But see, that's the problem here, and I feel like that's where the fault lies on Tony Khan. There's so much miscommunication, right, with the travel arrangements, or or with all of this, because this could have been squashed by Tony Khan instantly.
Oh yeah, like if
Tony,
this was flipped around, like if this was McMahon and the WWE and all this nonsense happened, it would have never gotten as far as it has.
No, because Tony Khan, like if Tony Khan had to give in approval, let's just say, and we don't know if that's true or not. That could just be, he thought he had approval. If that's true, couldn't he have just, well, let's I already got approval for this. Let me call up Tony Khan. He's the boss, right? And then that's a whole different story, right?
Yeah,
because Tony Khan could have said, "Yeah, I gave him approval. Go ahead and do it."
Yeah, that's exactly the thing, though. But like, that's where all of these other kinds of problems are coming with. It sounds like Punk is overriding even what Tony's saying, and they're not even reaching out to Tony for his response, especially when it comes to Collision and things like that. Like, it is his show, but it's Tony's company that should go through Tony. Again, like another example, like if you were looking at NXT several years ago when Triple H was running it, if somebody went and talked to Vince and got Vince's approval, Triple H, and then they told Triple H that, like, oh, I already got Vince's approval for this, they would go with that, right?
They would, but then that guy would have immense heat on that show, because Triple H.
No, he
went
would.
above me to get Vince's approval. It's like, this is my show,
and that's a whole different story if that was the scenario. But the thing is it would go there. The buck would stop there. It doesn't feel like that. And then the people you have that you try to put in those places, so the executive vice president or the head of talent relation or any of that, aren't even able to go to Collision. It's only Punk. He is the only guy there. Essentially, he is the boss of Collision. And yet everyone has drama with them. But that being said, we're getting a little long in this. We really probably end up with another episode of this going on.
Yeah, there's going to be more later on, because it's all going to come out. I will say this, though, on the suspension, because it has been announced, right? I think has it been confirmed that they're suspended?
They are both suspended. They haven't given a time frame for how long, but they are both suspended. So neither of them will be at the next pay-per-view.
Which is insane, because you've got CM Punk. It's in Chicago. That crowd is going to eat that show up alive. They are going to be chanting for CM Punk all night. It's going to be like we want Flair chants, right when Flair left WCW, to go to the WWF. And it's going to be loud. It's going to be ugly. It's, that's how it's going to be. The other thing too, Collision is coming to Salt Lake City. And if Punk is not on that show, I don't want to go either. So I was planning on going to that show, and my main reason was CM Punk. That was the main reason I wanted to go. And if he's not on it, I'm going to save my money. And I can imagine there might be there might be fans like trying to demand refunds for the pay-per-view, and everything, because I don't know. If this was Vince, when Rob Van Dam was suspended after he was, found smoking pot, with Sabu and whatnot, and he was suspended. He was the WWE champion. Rather than have him forfeit the belt and go on a suspension immediately, they had him drop the belt and then go on a suspension. If I was Tony Khan in this situation, it's like, okay, work the pay-per-view, put somebody over, right? And then go on your suspension, because why would you anger your whole fan base? I don't get it.
It's a hard one, and I for the most part I agree with you on this. The only thing I disagree with is it's a give or take, right?
Yeah.
If you don't suspend Punk but suspend Jungle Boy at the same time, then you're really showing favoritism even more than you already have been, and it's going to cause that much more of a deeper hate for your workers. It's a hard one for him.
It is. Let's say that it's a short suspension for both, right? Past the pay-per-view. Jungle Boy was already going on vacation. How is that fair? Jungle Boy basically, all right, I was going on vacation anyway, so no problem, right? I was going to get cut with glass, and so I was going to take time off anyway. So what's a suspension, right? So he goes on his vacation to Hawaii.
It takes two to fight, man.
Yeah, I think the whole thing stinks. I don't know, and then, they're saying, oh, they're suspended while we undergo this investigation. What is there to investigate? Tony Khan was right there. Like, he has to go around and, did you see the same thing that I saw? Am I seeing this right? How can I just, it can't be as long as the last one, because the only people that were in that, brawl were the people there, right?
Doc,
this one, there were too many witnesses, and Tony Khan was one of them, that this should be a short suspension. If that happened in front of Vince, it would not take weeks or months to figure out what to do, or, he would immediately say, all right, both of you going home for 6 months or whatever, or indefinitely even. They would say that and announce that. It wouldn't be, oh, let me figure out what I want to do. Vince would have either fired them both, or he would have made some statement. And in some cases, he probably would have talked about it on TV, or made it, at least said something, or turned it into a story, made money off of it. There's too many of these stories going on backstage, and Tony Khan's just basically ignoring it, saying, oh, we're under investigation. Then months and weeks go by, and there's no money to be made from it. That's where he's failing, in my eyes.
Well, guys, I want you guys to let us know not only about your thoughts on the CM Punk controversy in general, but also how the show was. Like, let us know what you guys thought of AEW All In. Yes. And lastly, what I would love to hear you guys say is any of your favorite Bray Wyatt or Terry Funk stories. Let all of that out on our social medias, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can find us at Be Hero Media, as well as BeHeroMedia.com. You can also reach out to me directly at Mike Burke DCW on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, or on Twitter at Mike Burke Pro, because Twitter still won't let me have my name back. Or you can reach out to Psycho at Psycho Wrestling on Facebook. All right, guys. So with all that being said, I know this is a really long one, so if you guys have stayed this long, I truly appreciate it. So let's go ahead and just run through the upcoming Devotion shows real fast. So starting off with that is coming up to be September 16th, only a couple of weeks away. Excuse me. We will be having DCW Presents Control. It's going to be a huge show at Charlie Square. We're estimating to have somewhere in the range around 500 people plus. So get your tickets now. I know they're already going pretty quickly. On that show, we are going to have former Impact and WWE star EC3, current NWA television champion, I still believe he is.
I thought he was the current. I think he just won the NWA heavyweight title.
Oh, well, there you go. So,
yeah, I'm pretty sure I saw that.
As well as we are going to have, returning back to Utah, Chris Adonis, formerly Chris Masters, as well as Sam Bodie will be on the show. Like, it's a huge show. It'll be a great time. So please come out September 16th to Charlie Square for that one. Also, Salt Lake City, we are going to be doing Fan X, Utah's comic convention. 21st to the 23rd of September, and Devotion will be wrestling all 3 days at the convention. So come out and join us there. It'll be a great time out there. We did this last year. It was super fun, and this year will be the exact same thing. So please come out, find us there. I'll be there all 3 days myself. So lastly, we will be having, I believe it's going to be Halloween Bash at Light Tree Studios here in Salt Lake City on October 7th. It'll be our next live taping for Fight TV. So please join us out for there. You can find tickets for all of these events coming up at facebook.com/Devotion Championship Wrestling or on Twitter at DCW Salt Lake City. Also, if you are buying tickets for FanX, you can actually get a 50% discount using wrestling as your promo keyword through us. Again, that is wrestling. All right, guys. This was a long one, like I said, so I really do appreciate you guys sticking with us if you made it this far. We don't usually do these ones this long, but there was a lot going on. And I'm sad to say we might end up going this long again next week because we are going to be reviewing 2 shows back to back. It's going to be one hell of a weekend. So, all right. Well, Psycho, do we have anything else going on?
No, but I just hope you're you're still married after the weekend of wrestling with on your anniversary. So
man. Yeah, it's why we're planning on going out for our anniversary Monday instead of on Sunday, which is our anniversary. 12 years with my lovely wife, 13 years together, 12 years married. I can't believe she stayed with me this long.
Bye, Franny.
All right, guys. With that being said, for the rest of Be Hero Presents, I've been Brian, he has been Psycho, and this has been us, and we're going to tap out. Have a great night, guys.